like to call to order the Bowling Green Board of Commissioners regular meeting for August 20th, 2013. I invite you to stand if you'd like. Commissioner Waltrip will introduce our pastor who's going to provide the invocation to us.
We have the honor tonight to have with us Reverend Michael Nasser, who's the pastor at the Holy Apostles Orthodox Mission located at 4358 Small House Road in Bowling Green. Reverend, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for the opportunity. Let's pray. Almighty God, our help and our refuge, the fountain of wisdom and the tower of strength, we humbly bow our heads this evening. We ask for the strength and the wisdom for all that will come before this council. We ask that you would open our minds and our hearts to the accomplishment of your holy will. Bless all the citizens of our community, especially the hungry, the poor, the young, the old, and all those that you call the least of your brethren. Make us always mindful of your presence, that you have shared your authority. As we've been told, no authority would be given to us unless it came from thee. Make us always mindful of that as we deliberate for the accomplishment of what you would have us to do. For to you we give glory, now and always. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I invited you to join us with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Waltrip will lead.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Waltrip?
Here.
Commissioner Williams?
Here.
Commissioner Denny?
Here.
Commissioner Hill?
Here.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Here. Mr. Febo, do we have any awards or recognitions tonight?
I do not, Mayor.
Anyone from the commission? Any comments that you'd like to provide before we get started?
There'll be a need for an executive session. Kate will read the reasons.
Pursuant to KRS 61.810B for deliberations on the future acquisition or sale of real property by the city, but only when publicity would likely affect the value of the specific piece of property to be acquired for public use or sold by the city, and KRS 61.810C for discussions of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of the city.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip and second by Hill. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denny?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. I have the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting for August 6, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Denning. Any corrections or deletions? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denny?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. This is the point in the meeting where we provide time for public comments. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to make a statement to the commission about an item that's not on tonight's agenda, please let us know, and we'll let you come forward to the microphone. Seeing no one, we'll continue with the meeting. The second reading of Ordinance 2013-22.
Ordinance rezoning real estate. Ordinance rezoning a tract of land containing 1.23 acres from OPC Office and Professional Commercial and RM4 Multifamily Residential to OPC Office and Professional Commercial located at 810 4th Avenue East, presently owned by Bowling Green Warren County Community Hospital Corporation, doing business as the Medical Center at Bowling Green.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip and second by Denning. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denny?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. Second reading of Ordinance 2013-23.
Ordinance rezoning real estate. Ordinance rezoning a tract of land containing 9.079 acres from AG Agriculture to HI Heavy Industrial, located at 194 Bristow Road, presently owned by Ernest and Rebecca Sanford.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denny?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. Second reading of Ordinance 2013-24.
Ordinance rezoning real estate. Ordinance rezoning 3 tracts of land containing 6.88 acres from LI Light Industrial and HI Heavy Industrial to HI Heavy Industrial, located at 1208 and 1249 Lewis Avenue and 414 and 550 Power Street, presently owned by Steen Concrete Products Incorporated.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Waltrip and second by Hill. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. Second reading of ordinance 2013-25.
Ordinance amending Code of Ordinances, ordinance amending Chapter 15, Business and General Regulations, to add a new subchapter related to regulation of donation drop-off bins.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip and second by Hill. We have some guests this evening that would like to make comments about that, and I'll invite them to step to the microphone. And please give your name and address for the record, and we'll proceed with your comments.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. My name is Libby Gray. I'm an attorney with the law firm Middleton Reitlinger in Louisville, Kentucky. My home address is 1810 Crossgate Lane, Louisville, Kentucky 40222. I'm here representing Special Olympics Kentucky in Ohio Mills related to BG 2013-25. We appreciate very much your time this evening. Special Olympics is not and has never been opposed to reasonable regulation. We welcome it. However, we believe there's a single provision of the proposed ordinance that unconstitutionally bans lawful business and charitable purposes, and that is Section 15-3.02b, and that's the provision that requires a property owner to agree that the donation bin must be permanently attached to the largest structure on the property, and it gives the property owner no discretion as to where that bin can be located. We believe that this provision discriminates charities such as Special Olympics and treats them differently than those charities like a Goodwill or others that own the property upon which the bins are placed, because it places upon Special Olympics additional burdens to get the third-party property owner to agree that the bin can be moved and can be attached to the permanent part of the building, whereas a charity that owns the property does not have that additional hurdle. And because of this, we believe it violates the Equal Protection Clause and the Contracts Clause of the United States Constitution, and that there would be less restrictive ways to achieve the stated purposes of the ordinance, such as the safety of Bowling Green and the aesthetics of Bowling Green. We would very much like to work with the City of Bowling Green to come up with a reasonable alternative that would meet everybody's needs and allow the Special Olympics donation bin program to continue. I have two others with me tonight who are going to speak very briefly. First, Steve Mcgill is with Ohio Mills, and on behalf of Special Olympics, he's on the ground working with the property owners. And he will tell you very briefly that in his opinion and in his experience, why this single provision of the ordinance would effectively end the donation bin program for Special Olympics. We also have Mark Berger here with Special Olympics, and he will tell you about just some of the wonderful programs that this donation bin program has funded and supports here in Warren County. Steve?
Thank you. I'm Steve Mcgill, Sales and Operation Manager for the Ohio Mills Corporation. We do the service work on the clothing collection bins. My home address is 117 Marbrook Lane in Finchville, Kentucky, 40022. That's Shelby County. Now, I'm the guy, it's me, I'm the one on the ground who's going out and asking the business owners here in Bowling Green, can we have the donation of space? And I'll be honest, the business owners down here have been very cooperative, very generous in donating space, and have worked with us. The community has been great. But I'm going to be honest, I don't know what to say after all my sales experience and working with people, and I'm a 30-year retired band director out of Bullitt County. And I don't know what to say to a business owner to say, hey, do you mind if I drill a hole through your wall and I'm going to bolt my bin to your wall? I'm going to be honest, you've put us out of business. Business owners, they like picking the spot where they want the bin to go, where it will be visible. They're going to get some advertising from us. We work with them, and they're excellent about that. But if I go in and I ask, can I put a hole through your building? They don't want us destroying their building. It's not going to happen. They're flat going to say no. I don't even know what kind of sales pitch to tell anybody to make that request. So I hope that you all will work with us and look at some alternatives to this. We are more than happy to work back with regulations. Ohio Mills, we're all for it. We're on your same page with you on that. So we ask you to reconsider that part of it. There's other things we can do with the bin to make sure it's secure. We've never had a problem with our bins as far as keeping our bins clean, safety issues, bins blowing over, they're heavy. They're several hundred pounds. You put clothing in them, you've got more pounds. If you need extra weight, if you're worried about holding in place, I understand Kentucky's a windy place. It's possible. We can take care of that for you. So that's what we're looking at, and we do thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, before you get Mr. Berger, I think Mr. Denning had a question for you.
Yes, or from Elizabeth, either one. Explain to me, and maybe I'm a little confused, I get confused at times, why your situation is any different than the other people that are going to put boxes out. They're going to have to ask for the same thing in your example of boring a hole in the owner's wall or whatever the case may be. Why is your situation different from the other people that are going to have boxes?
Okay.
And going to fall within the same restrictions that we're talking about here?
Part of that's going to be our bins are 5 foot by 5 foot. They're short, square. They don't pick up the wind. You've got another bin operator. Their bins tend to be tall and skinny. Yes, maybe I can't speak for them, but maybe that could be a problem. But our bins, they've stayed put.
And were you asking more about the equal protection issue?
Would you step to the microphone so I can
Commissioner, were you addressing more of the equal protection issue, why it treats some charities differently than others?
Well,
I want to make sure
I
your
guess
question's
that's a
answered.
part of it too, because we're not asking anything anymore of the other individuals with bins, and then we are asking you. They fall within the same subsection that you're talking about.
Right.
So tell me what is happening
Sure.
there. What is the difference, and why is it that we are treating you differently under the law, unequal, and so on?
Absolutely. And you're right, on the face of the ordinance, it treats every charity business the same. The difference is in the application of the ordinance. If a charity or an entity owns the property where the bin is placed, they don't need to seek a third party's approval and permission to move the bin and to attach it to the wall. It's their property. They can say, sure, the ordinance says this, we'll do it. Whereas in our situation, we need to go to a third-party property owner who's donating their property, they're partnering with Special Olympics, and ask for their permission to move a bin where they don't want it. If they wanted it attached to the building, that's where it would have been in the first place, and ask the property owner to drill a hole in their building. And that's the difference. It's as the ordinance is applied to those charities that own their property and those charities that do not own their property.
Well, I don't know that there's a whole lot of statistical information that says a bin is going to be put on a property that is owned by the person that's putting the bin down. When we have other locations where that would not be the case?
Where an
agency is putting their bins on my property. They've got to get permission for me to do that.
Yes.
And as this says here, if I choose to do that, I'm going to lock that bin down somewhere in order for it to be in a permanent spot. I'm still lost on your side.
Well, and the difference is in practicalities, and that's why it was so important for Mr. Mcgill to be here and address, because he is the one on the ground speaking to these property owners. And my understanding in Bowling Green, there are 10 bins. None of them are attached to the building. In fact, they are all more than 100 feet from the building, and that's at the property owner's request. That's where the property owner wants the bin, for whatever reason.
But the property owner now is going to have to bring that bin closer
Correct.
to his or her building.
And what has happened, and we've seen it in Louisville, because there was a similar ordinance. The ordinance in effect right now is that the bin must be 50 feet from the front door of the building. We think that will be further amended to be 75 feet. And what has happened, and Mr. Mcgill is the one who worked with these property owners, is they said, we don't want someone else telling us what we can do with our property and where the bin needs to be. We declined to be part of the program. And I know in Louisville, we lost more than 10% of the bins just by virtue of the property owners not wanting to work within the prohibition and to have an ordinance tell them where they can place the bin on their property. Does that answer your question? Or?
Well, I don't want to take up all the time. I'm sure some other the commissioners may have some questions, but if I do, I'll come back.
Okay, that would be great. Mark is going to speak to, again, some of the programs.
Nothing against Mark. We have another question before we go there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Of course.
I would just like to know why you all were not here at our earlier meeting when we had the first reading of this.
Absolutely. I got an email from Mr. Harmon, I think on Monday afternoon, that the first reading would be that next day. I was in the middle of the San Juan Islands in Washington State, did not have email until later that night, early the next morning, and it just couldn't get back here in time. And
could no one else have been here for that meeting?
With the time that we had, we were not able to set it, and that in no way reflects a lack of commitment to this cause. We met with Mr. Harmon and some others about a month ago and have consistently offered if there is anything we can do to work with the city. Anytime you would like us to come down to Bowling Green, we'd be delighted to do so.
Okay. And then one more question. Steve mentioned there are 10 bins in Bowling Green, just your bins? Is that what you're referring to? Yes, okay. That just, because I thought, why all of a sudden it seems like overnight they multiplied? Not yours, but just in Bowling Green, which is the reason this issue was brought before us. We had bins everywhere.
They like to copy the best, I guess, but we have no control other operators or companies what they do. Special Olympics and Ohio Mills, we're very, very picky about contacting the business owners, getting a written confirmation. I have to have a written confirmation to put a bin down, and that owner has to be worked with, and we take great care in that. Your other people who are here, I can't speak for them.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Berger, I think it's your turn.
Thank you. My name is Mark Berger. I'm the Communications Director for Special Olympics Kentucky. My home address is 1025 Kiowa Drive, Lexington, Kentucky. 40515 is the zip code there. Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, I thank you for the time to speak this evening. For nearly 40 years, Special Olympics Kentucky has been a part of the Bowling Green community, and Bowling Green has played a vital role in our program. We work closely with the Bowling Green Parks and Recreation Special Populations Department, through which many Bowling Green residents access Special Olympics programming. Western Kentucky University has trained many of the leaders in our program. Bowling Green serves as a hub for Special Olympics programming throughout Western Kentucky, hosting several regional events, as well as our upcoming state softball tournament, which will bring more than 500 athletes and coaches and their families to Bowling Green here next month. The bin ordinance would do considerable damage to a program that serves more than 100 Bowling Green special needs athletes and their families. It would jeopardize funding that helps keep our program accessible to as many athletes as possible, trains our coaches and volunteers, pays for the cost of background checks for volunteers to keep our athletes safe, and provides health services for our athletes at events like our Healthy Athletes Village at our state summer games that Bowling Green athletes access there. It's very difficult to find or replace funding sources in this economy, and this donation bin program has provided more than $100,000 for Special Olympics in the time that it's been in place. That funding would be all but impossible for us to replace. On behalf of our athletes and our families, I ask that you consider less restrictive changes than the permanent fixture requirement so that our partners in Bowling Green would be more likely to comply and continue to cooperate in this program. Again, I thank you all for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Did you have any?
Delighted to answer any other questions.
Any other questions for any of the three?
I might just go back to Gene for a minute. From your earlier conversations, had you heard anything about this particular provision before we entered into the drafting of the ordinance?
Oh, yeah, I mean, that was kind of the purpose of the meeting. I think at the original meeting we had with them, we met with city staff and planning commission staff and their attorney as well. And I think even at that time, one of the proposals was to permanently affixed, and they expressed their concern about it at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, we have no issue with any other part of the ordinance. We think, again, reasonable regulation is a wonderful thing, and that the ordinance meets several important goals. It's truly just that one provision that will so harm Special Olympics.
Are you finished?
I think I'm done. Yeah.
Joe?
Just one other question.
Thank you.
What you're saying is that your bin is so large that the competitor, his bin is going to be attached to a structure, but your bin cannot be. Your bin, if you went to that same person and asked if your bin could be on that same property, your bin is going to be out in front somewhere or another, away from the structure that it needs to be attached to. Is that correct?
I don't know that that's, and Steve, if you're welcome to address this as well. I think the issue in the disparate treatment is between those charities, Special Olympics and others, that do not own the property upon which their bins are placed, on one hand, and on the other hand, the charities that own their own property that are not going to have to go through the third-party property owner and obtain permission, and likely lose the partnership with that property owner. I don't know if you have anything to add about the size of the bins.
Well, the only thing I would say is that if everybody in town has to bolt into somebody's building, we're all gone. End story. If that's what you wanted to accomplish.
But we haven't heard that from the other people that have bins. We haven't heard that.
And I'll be honest, I can't speak for them.
I understand.
But they're not here.
And I'm not asking you to. But have we heard that from the others?
No.
That's all I have.
Yes, sir.
I guess the issue is bolting to the building. Is the issue placement up next to the main structure, or the actual bolting of the bin to the building?
I think it's both. It's one where the property owners want those bins to be placed, and often they're away from the front door. In the vast majority of instances in Louisville, Bowling Green, everywhere else, they're not next to the building, and that's at the property owner's choice. And then I think, secondly, there is an issue with asking a property owner to permanently drill a hole into their building.
I think if I can add real quick.
Yes, please.
I think the biggest difference between, and I'm assuming that you're asking about the difference between our bins and the bins, the thinner green bins from whatever that organization is. There are bins, and we've seen it in other communities. You see it throughout the state. There are bins from organizations that come in from outside communities, legitimately outside the community, and just drop bins in those communities. And I think that's the difference between them and us, and that's why you're not hearing from them tonight, because they're not here. They're not part of the community. They're not part of the state. While we don't own property throughout the state, we're a very small staff. We own one property and rent one property through the entire state. Our program is delivered through, in the case here, city personnel help out with that, volunteers help out with that. So we don't own property in different places where we could put a collection bin on our property. That's just not how our program is operated. But we're not outsiders. We are part of the community. Our volunteers live here. Our athletes live and work and go to school here. And I think that's the biggest difference between, I think, the bins that you're discussing, with the exception of organizations who own property that then have collection bins on them, and our bins. And I think does that answer your question any further, Mr. Fanning?
Well, partially. I'm still lost as to how we're mistreating your program. Go ahead, Mr.
Can I try it? There's two types. There's those who take collections and have a building. then there's those organizations that do not have a building and take collections. For those who do not have a building, these folks and a handful of others are saying this will create undue burden on them versus someone who owns a building. Is that what you're... Oh, thanks. I'm not even from here.
Yes, ma'am.
One more question, sorry. Would you all, okay, you've pointed out the section you have a problem with. Would you have an issue if we required you to put them next to the building but no longer permanently attach them? Would that be better?
There's, I mean, that's still a concern, and I can speak from experience going through the Louisville ordinance, which at the time it was passed was 50 feet, started at 25 feet. We filed suit, it was amended at 50 feet from the front door, and already how many property owners we lost, even with that 50-foot radius. So certainly that's a step, but that doesn't remedy the issue.
I think a lot of our thought has been that we have bins that have been placed by property owners, and they are definitely in line of sight when people are trying to pull out into traffic, or they've created a hazard, and just allowing them to be put anywhere that the property owner likes without thinking about what it might be causing for a motorist. That's an issue.
And I think there's a lot of things we could do with an ordinance like this that would still meet all of those goals. I mean, there could be a permanent aspect to the ordinance. There could be other type regulations that it has to be in the line of sight, or that it cannot be impairing any traffic flow, or we could work together, and we'd love the opportunity to work together to come up with restrictions that meet all of your purposes and their important purposes, but also do not effectively put this great program out of business.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Mayor, I appreciate them coming, and I appreciate all the work nonprofits do for not only just our community, but all over the state. I personally would like for us to discuss this more and try to work with them as well as others.
Do we have any more questions for the group? Okay, thank you very much for your...
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. At the time, I have a question for Jean. Is that appropriate now?
Sure, go ahead.
The issue of, she spoke to the issue of being unconstitutional. Do you have any advice in that area? And I know you're the attorney, so you get the question.
Well, I think we are treating everybody equally, but honestly, I don't think I want to discuss in a public setting the merits of this. They've expressed their opinion. We've got it on the agenda.
Are you aware of any other locality that's run into an issue where they have been successfully sued?
Well, when we first started looking at this, Google's a great thing. When you start Googling donation bins, and they can probably tell you there's probably, 100 different ordinances around the country on this. Some places have prohibited them totally. Some have been fairly highly regulated. Some have done nothing. It's just all over the board on how cities have treated these. And we first discussed in the work session. I think at that time we were not aware that I think that Louisville had one, was not aware that Louisville had been challenged on it, and they went in federal court with it. I do know since then that Louisville has amended their ordinance, and I think they're close to a resolution, of my understanding, and resolving the issues there. I'm not sure I answered your question, but in an open session, I don't think I want to feel real comfortable.
How much does our ordinance mirror the Louisville ordinance once it's been changed?
Well, as they stated a minute ago, as Ms. Gray said, the only issue they have with our ordinance is to permanently affix to the building. About the only other thing, Louisville has a lot of stuff we don't have about permits and license fees and wording. We've got some wording requirements, but most of ours dealt with just mainly keep it clean, keep stuff off the ground, keep it emptied, make sure stuff's not overflowing. I think, again, the main objection they have, they're okay with everything we have, I understand, except for that one provision.
Well, it appears to me, and if I'm wrong, please.
Louisville does not have the permanently affixed
I was
language.
going to say, but it's two issues with ours as well. You say it's one, but in your letter, but I think that it's two. It's the permanently affixing, and then it is the location. So there are two issues. It's not just the permanently affixing it to the building. It's where it can be located on the property.
I think that's what I meant by the single issue, is the location and the proximity of the building. But you're correct. It can be broken down into two discrete issues.
Okay. When we first started looking into this, it was based on complaints from the community with regard to the appearance, and as we further looked into it, it became more apparent that these were going to be proliferating, so it was important to try to get a handle on it before they did get out of hand. And in our discussions with the city attorney, he indicated that we have broad authority under home rule to regulate issues such as this with regard either to location, screening, signs, and other issues like landscaping and so forth. In discussions with planning and zoning and other issues, it could be considered a lot in violation of our current zoning ordinance because of ancillary structures are required to be screened or attached to the building. So as I was trying to prepare this ordinance, I was trying to meet both of those requirements with regard to the advertising on the structure itself. It appeared to be a violation of our off-premises sign issue because it's not a location where they do business. It was simply a donation box. We avoided, to avoid staff involvement, we tried to avoid the issues of permitting or fees or filing of forms and checking of forms and annual this and annual that. We didn't want to create any more bureaucracy. We're just trying to create a simple structure where the facilities themselves were out of the traffic's way and as little obtrusive to the public as far as signage is concerned, or as could be. And that's where it came up with the idea that permanently attach them to the building. I personally have experienced losing two metal structures through wind. Thought they were sufficiently secured, but were not, and they were in the back of my yard and lost two of those buildings. But in my mind, it's important for it to be securely attached, and in order to mimic as closely as possible to our zoning ordinance, to be permanently attached to the main structure at any location that the business owner chooses to place. However, moving it out into the parking lot, I think, goes against the spirit, if not the letter, of our zoning ordinance. And being a separate structure, I think even the county is adopting how the zoning ordinance is operating now and requiring them to be placed within a screened location, which I think kind of defeats the purpose. But clearly, if the business owner is a supporter of the program, they would be willing for it to be there with the building. And I would encourage us to move forward with the second reading of this tonight. And be happy to hear any other deliberations.
I probably, this is obviously a tough one. When I first posed the question about the putting it permanently against the building, well, maybe something could be worked out, or something. But when you talk about the location of it, that's one of the main reasons that we're looking at this, and I'm not quite sure that could be worked out to the satisfaction of you all and what I think we're proposing. So when it was broken down like that, it probably made it a little bit clearer for me, I guess.
Anyone else? Or any amendments?
Okay. Melinda, what would you?
You putting that in a form?
You still want? What do you want to do?
Everybody wants to do what is right, but every time we have a meeting and there's new concern that comes up, and I think these people that are here want to do what's right. It's either lock and key or let them sit out in the parking lot.
Well, the options we have are to prohibit them altogether too, or go through the heavy regulatory process that Louisville has had. So I thought we had a simple and clean way to meet our ordinances, our zoning ordinances or sign ordinance, by trying to accommodate their request to be in the community as long as they met within the guidelines of what was already present.
How do you define permanently attached? What's that going to look like?
Well, you can't move it.
Okay. So it's going to be a bar around it attached, or?
It could be an L bracket or something along that line.
Screw bolt.
They're willing to place a sign advertising their own business on their own property if they're a supporter of the program. I don't see why they wouldn't accommodate that. We were coming back from supper and noticed two of the boxes had already been relocated to the next to the building.
And I have to say, just to be candid, which gets me in trouble sometimes, but obviously the issue that it's Special Olympics makes it even more difficult decision in my thought process.
Yep.
And I mean, it just does, and I don't know whether it's right or wrong or indifferent, but it does.
I don't think it's any of our desire to hurt an organization like Special Olympics, but we do have to be cognizant too of if one person has an accident out there because they couldn't see around the corner of a box that was placed on someone's property and a child were to get hurt in an accident for some reason, then I would feel just as badly about that.
These were Mary's comments. Anything else? Hearing nothing else. We have a motion on our ordinance on the floor for second reading to approve as we did in the first time. So please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
No.
Wilkerson?
Yes. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry that it's such a long drive back to Louisville for you this evening. All right, next item is Municipal Order 2013-130.
Municipal order approving the probationary appointment of Justin W. Donnelly to the position of firefighter in the fire department.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Denning, second by Hill. Mr. Febo.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We have an upcoming vacancy in the fire department in September. We also starting a training class in mid-September. We didn't want to miss a beat, so we're asking you tonight to appoint Justin Donnelly to the position of firefighter. He went through the normal procurement process and deemed to be on the list and the best candidate. I believe Justin is here.
The whole family's here.
Family possible.
We'll make sure we get you on camera so everybody knows who you are. Congratulations, Dustin. We're pleased for you. But let's make it official. Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. First reading of Ordinance 2013-26.
Ordinance amending Code of Ordinances. Ordinance amending Chapter 2, Administration, Subchapter 217, Human Rights Commission of the City of Bowling Green Code of Ordinances to revise the composition of the City of Bowling Green Commission on Human Rights.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip and second by Denning. I'll take this one. This was requested by the Human Rights Commission to reduce their numbers from 1513 to try to make it just a bit more manageable. I don't know if it actually has to do with the size of their meeting room or they just wanted to work it out a little better, so we'll try to accommodate with them with this. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. Municipal Order 2013-131.
Municipal order approving the reappointments of Greg Almond, Nancy Becker, and Michael Coleman to the Human Rights Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Walter and second by Hill. These are reappointments of of our people. I'm sorry. I forgot that you were here, Miss Alice. Did you have anything to add to that? To tell us why we're going from 15 to 13? I just made it because you were...
No, we just thought people affected absentees would not be a problem, and we keep our quorum if it's.
That's great. And thank all of you for coming tonight. Appreciate that. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denny?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. Municipal Order 2013-132.
Municipal order authorizing the continuation of contracts for bid number 2012-03 with LKJ Crab Incorporated and True Green Chemlawn of Bowling Green, Kentucky for Transpark maintenance in the total amount of $26,186.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Mr. DeFebo.
One of the added value things that the city does at the Transpark is to maintain all the entrances, public entrances and public right-of-ways. We went out to bid in 2011 for those services. Two individual companies took part of the business. Under the terms of the agreement in 2011, there were 2 one-year extensions. We're here tonight to ask you to exercise the second year of the second extension at the same price.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I think I
Oh, we
already,
did.
I already did that part.
Joe, how's your backup, buddy?
I appreciate it.
I was right there with you.
Thank you. I need all the help I can get.
Is this one of those all in favor, say aye kind of thing? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denny? Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. Municipal Order 2013-133.
Municipal order authorizing the acceptance of a Homeland Security grant from the Federal Emergency Management Agency for the 2012 Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program in the amount of $56,340 for the purchase of 9 thermal imaging cameras, and further authorizing and accepting bid number 2013-52 from Finley Fire Equipment of McConnellsville, Ohio, in the total amount not to exceed $70,425.
Good, Joe.
Motion by Denning, second by Walter.
Thank
Mr. Febo.
Thank you, Billy.
What Katie said involves 2 separate actions. One is to accept the grant from FEMA for $56,340. To receive that, we had to put up $14,085, and we had to go out to bid to buy thermal imagers, 9 of them. The low and best bid was Finley of McConnellsville, Ohio. We recommend your approval. Finley was the best evaluated bid. Greg is here. Craig Johnson is here if you have any questions.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denny?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes.
I was waiting to second it again.
Municipal Order 2013-134.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2014-01 for boundary survey services for Butler County and Glenlilly Road landfills from Landmark Engineering Incorporated of Bowling Green, Kentucky, in the total amount of $28,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Waltrip. Mr. Febo.
As the commission knows and is reminded, we have 2 landfills that we have custodial and environmental responsibility over those. They're large tracts of land. We thought it was good business for us during the budget process to allocate money to have those surveyed by a private company. We went out to a procurement process, and we're here tonight to recommend the lowest responsible bid, which is Landmark Engineering of Bowling Green, Kentucky. Matt Powell or Jeff is here if you have any questions about why we're doing this. As you know, we're also in discussions with others about the use of the Butler County landfill. If that proceeds, that principal would pay their share of the break-off land. again, Matt and Jeff are here, and I think Jeff wrote you some outlines of some answers to some questions.
Ms. Hill.
I would like for Mr. Lashley to come forward and explain to our citizens, because if they're like me and remember earlier on our agenda, we did have an item regarding the Butler County landfill. So explain to them why we need to go forward with this.
Okay, certainly. We do not have a survey of the property at either landfill. So the services that we were procuring would be to provide detailed surveys, a meets and bounds description of the property. 3 primary reasons that this needs to take place. To better manage the landfill, we need to know where the boundaries are. We have an idea, but there hasn't been a survey done on that. So with that said, we could sell unused property. We could sell timber, should we do that, and we would be looking to do that in the future. Additionally, to take this from a state of closure, as it's classified by the state, to a post-closure, we need to put restrictions on the property, and this mechanism would allow us to do that with a recording plat.
Thank you so much for your answers, because earlier when I was reading this, as you all know, I could not understand why we'd want to pay for something we were looking at possibly selling, so thank you.
Yes, and Alice Ed would reimburse an appropriate amount for these services.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. First reading of ordinance 2013-27.
Ordinance annexing property by consent. Ordinance annexing 0.80 acre of property located at 487 Garvin Lane with property presently owned by David and Martine Sims, and said territory being contiguous to existing city limits.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip and second by Hill. Mr. Febo.
With your courtesy, I'd like to defer to Gene Harmon on items 11 and 12. They both involve consensual annexation. Gene has been managing these properties coming into the city. It might be helpful if Gene gave a brief overview of both.
I'll make it short on first. The first one says simply that it's consensual annexation. It's next to the country club. The people on the other side are already in the city. We're just moving one step further down that Garvin Lane to pick up the next property. They've asked to come into the city. So we've got that one before you with their consent to come in. The second one is a little bit more complicated, and maybe through an oversight. Several years ago when we built the pool, Preston Miller Park, we actually had to condemn some property for that park. And property we condemned was out in the county. In fact, it was one of the defenses that they first put up. We couldn't condemn out in the county. They lost that fight, and we did. So we ended up purchasing that property. But I guess after we got it and all that, it kind of just forgot about the fact that part of our park was actually still in Warren County. So we're basically just cleaning up our boundary lines by asking to annex that boundary, that remaining park area into the city. I think also when Rob was doing this, he kind of cleaned up language too. I'm not too sure the actual boundary out there, his description matched exactly what the Secretary of State's office and we had on the map, so he did a little bit of adjusting to make sure we came into compliance with everybody else too. But that second one that you're getting to, the next one is simply that's Preston Miller Park, just some acreage out there that we never annexed into the city, and it's us.
Any discussion on the first item? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. First reading of ordinance 2013-28.
Ordinance annexing property by consent. Ordinance annexing 22.60 acres of property located at Preston Miller Park along Veterans Memorial Boulevard and adjacent to the Russell Sims Aquatic Park, with property presently owned by the city of Bowling Green and said territory being contiguous to existing city limits.
So moved.
Motion by Denning, second by Waltrip. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. First reading of ordinance 2013-29.
Ordinance closing a public right-of-way. Ordinance approving the closing of an unnamed alley located off 13th Avenue East between Center Street and Kentucky Street.
So moved.
Motion by Hill, second by Waltrip. Mr. Febo.
Thank you, Mayor. Items 13th, 14th, and 15th 15, all involve action by the Planning Commission. As is your protocol, Steve Hunter is here to answer any questions about one or all three. But all three were approved, and Steve is here to answer any particular question.
Actually, ordinance, or item 13 and 15 are tied together, and that rezoning closes the alley as well. So this is for the alley. Is there any discussion or questions? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denny?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. First reading of ordinance 2013-30.
Ordinance rezoning real estate. Ordinance rezoning a tract of land containing 0.2774 acre from RM3 multifamily residential and GB general business to general business located at 0 Parkhurst Drive, presently owned by Larry Thomas Lawrence.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip and second by Hill. Are there any questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denny?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. First reading of ordinance 2013-31.
Ordinance rezoning real estate. Ordinance rezoning 2 tracts of land containing 5.27 acres from RM4 multifamily residential, NB neighborhood business, and GB general business to PUD planned unit development located at Kentucky Street, 13th Avenue East, and Center Street, presently owned by Jason Mills, FJL LLC, 13th Street Development LLC, Theo Walton and Christine Walton, Webb Group LLC, New Haven Construction Incorporated, Jade Ventures LLC, Westside Ventures LLC, and Crocker LLC, and Tritonbach Development LLC as contract member.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip and second by Williams. Is there any questions or discussion? Are there any questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denny?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. And municipal order 2013-135.
Municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute a lease agreement with the Bowling Green International Festival Incorporated to lease Circus Square Park and designated streets for September 27th and 28th, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip and second by Hill. Mr. Febo.
Well, one of our evolving successful community events every year is the International Fest. Last year they approached us about giving them Circus Square for free and waiving the fee. They again are here tonight asking the same. Staff recommends your approval.
Is there any discussion, questions? Please call the roll.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denny?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. And that's the last item on our agenda. We will be going into closed session,
No
but
vote.
there'll be no vote.
No, there will
taken.
not, Mayor.
No
No vote.
No.
So we'll